everyone, welcome back to a new class. My name is Bilikis. In today's class we are going to be sewing up the dress we cut out initially. First, I have my zipper here. Normally I should be using a matching zipper that matches the color of the outfit of the fabric, but because I'm making a tutorial, we'll be making use of the contrasting color. Why is that? Because I want everything to be visible. Even the thread I'll be using to sew will be black, so as to see where and when I'm sewing it. So the first thing I'm going to do is this. We are going to take in all the dots on the wrong side of the fabric. This is the right side and this is the wrong side of the fabric. So the first thing I'm going to do is to sew in the dots. Can you see? I've shown you how to transfer your dots. So all you have to do is take this part, so this is where you have. Good. Then you take to the sewing machine, starting from this point, the apex, then you sew it down. When you get to this point, you turn it back straight down. So that's how to sew in your dots. So I'm going to do it for the front and for the back panel. Stick it. So you put this apex under the sewing machine, put down your needle, so you back stitch. When I get to this point, the tees, the largest part, I'm just going to lift up the foot. Make sure your needle is in it. Then rotate a little. So this is what I have. I've sewn that. So that is how to sew in your dots. Can you see? So I'm going to do that for all the parts. All the dart has been sewn in, as you can see. Can you see that? So I've sewn in all the darts. Then you just press it towards the sides. That's how you do that. So the next thing we are going to do now is to fix the zipper. So at the back, to make it easier. So what I will do now is this. Now this is the zipper allowance, as you've seen. I will now have to turn this to the right side. Okay, good. So with the line, you can know the zipper allowance. So then you need to determine where you want the zipper to stop, which is these 2 points I have here, here and here. So just few inches above your hip, like 2 or 3. So good. After noting that, now I have my zipper. This is it. This is the right side of the zipper. This is the right side of the fabric. So all I want to do now is I want this right side of the zipper tee to be showing on the outside. So that means the right side of the zipper is going to be facing the right side of the fabric. So make sure you have excess at the upper part. It makes it easier. So I want to have something like this. So I want to have something like this, whereby I have the zipper teeth showing. It's very easy to do. So we'll start from one side. So I'm just going to place it this way. Make sure the zipper teeth is closer to the zipper allowance line. Then you can start pinning it up. So can you see that? This is it. So very close. So the zipper teeth is inside. This is the line. So just place it this way. And then I'll pin it down. So can you see? So make sure the zipper teeth is closer to this line. at it, I've pinned it all down. As you can see that I've pinned it. So this is the right side, this is the wrong side. So I pinned on the zipper allowance line. So at the end of the day, I want to have something like this. Can you see? Good. So, and this is where I want the zipper to stop, this point. So I'm just going to take this to the sewing machine first and then sew this all down before we come to the second side. It's time to sew the zipper, so I'm going to change this foot. This is the normal press foot, so to a zipper foot. Though if you don't have this, you can still use that. So now, since I'm working on the left side of the pattern now, so I'll be making sure I place the foot on this side. So I'm going to attach this side to the machine, that is the left side. Now, having fixed that, then I can start sewing from the beginning. The reason why I told you to bring out the zipper is so as to allow you move freely, or better still, you could just open it up if you are having issue with that. As you can see that, you can just open it. So first the needle. Back stitch and you just go gently. So can you see the zipper has been attached? Can you see that? So I'm just going to sew it all down. So this is the point where I want the zipper to stop. So at that point, I'm just going to stop and then back stitch. So can you see what I have? So beautiful. So let's go back to the work table. So now that the zipper has been fixed, can you see how beautiful that looks? So this is it now. So I'm going to, this is the right side of the other part, so just make sure you place it this way. So after that, you now have to bring the zipper out this way. Can you see? So you do the same thing, you pin it down, making sure the zipper now is inside. So only the side of the zipper will be on the zipper allowance. Make sure everything align at the upper part. Take your time to pin it down. Right now I've pinned it all down, and I open it up, this is what I'm going to have. Can you see? So now I can open this up because it's an open end zipper. Can you see? So to make it easier, can you see? So since this has been sewn perfectly, but in case you are not using an open end zipper, it's still going to be like this, so you can just go ahead and just open it to stop wherever it will stop. So if it's not an open end, there's no problem, just open it. Then I'm just going to sew the same way we sew it and stop at where I want the zipper to stop. Then another thing I will do on the sewing machine is at the vent here. This is the vent. I'll turn to the wrong side. Remember, this is the seam allowance. I'm just going to take 1/4 of an inch, then fold, because I left 3/4 inch. Can you see that? So you're going to fold on this. So first the initial fold and then this. So I'm now going to sew this down to finish the edge of the vent. I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. So let me fix the zipper and then the end of the vent. The zipper has been fixed, as you can see that. So the next thing is to close it up. Can you see how beautiful that is? So that's how to fix it. On the wrong side, this is what we have. So you're going to use your serger or a zigzag stitch to finish all this raw edge. So the next thing we are going to do is this. I have finished the outer part of the vent, as you can see. So the next thing is this. I'm going to fold it this way. So now remember, this is where we stop the zipper. So what we are going to do now is this. Make sure this is well aligned. Good. You can just pin it down. So I'm going to start from this point. I'm not going to sew this place yet because this is another one entirely. So I'm going to start from this point and just sew it together. Because this part is open, we have to close it up. So from this point, I'm going to put my needle in and just sew the remaining parts and stop at the end of the zipper here. So that's the next thing I will do. Then we can finish the vent. For us to sew that, remember from this point. So first the needle. Forget to back stitch. So I'm going to move further until I stop at that point. Then back stitch. Alright, good to go. See that has been successfully done, as you can see. Can you see that? So another thing you will do is this. Just take your needle and thread, or using your sewing machine, just tack this down here, tack it down here to make it stay well. Let's see, take your time. Stitch just a little, so can you see it stays well. Don't forget to remove all the threads. The next part is this. We need to finish this hole. As we're sewing this, I could have told you to just finish it, but I always want it to be straight. So take your time, come to the lower part here too, and then pin. So now we have it straight. So I'm going to take it to the sewing machine again, and now remember we stopped here. So when we sew it, we stopped here. So now we'll take to the sewing machine now to sew it back down here alone, just from here down here. Now I've sewn this. Can you see? I've finished this part. So the next thing is, this place is still intact. I'm going to slit this point. Make sure you do not cut through so that we have something like this. You see that? So the next thing I'm going to do next, so this will be opened and pressed. The next thing we are going to do is to move this leftover towards you. So this is what we'll have now. So here, this is what we'll have. But just leave your pin in so as to make it straight. So I'll now have to go back to the sewing machine now. I haven't placed this to the right. Then I'm going to start sewing from this point to this point, to this edge, because we want to secure it to have our vent very intact. So from this corner straight to the end. And just pin that down too as it is. That's good. So I have it like this, so because we want to sew it here. So when you are sewing, you use a matching thread. Here's the needle. Make sure you back stitch. So then you back stitch. After removing the pin, this is what we have, and you see the vent. So that's it. On the right side, this is what it looks like. Can you see the vent is formed? So when we are closing the lower part, I'll show you how to do that. So the next thing we are going to do is to sew up the shoulders. So here now, I'm just going to sew up the shoulder. Remember we left half an inch for the shoulder seam allowance, half an inch, half an inch. Right now I've sewn the shoulder, so just half an inch on the side. So this is what I'm going to have. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to sew up the facing so that we can attach that. So this is the wrong side. What I'm going to do now is to also join the facing at the shoulder. So this is the neckline, so this is the shoulder. I'm going to join it by half an inch, just as I did for the dress, so that we can attach it. I have sewn the shoulder of the facing too. Can you see that? So the next thing will be to use a serger or an overlocking machine to just finish up the edge or the facing. Or if you don't have that, just take 1/4 of an inch, then 1/4 of an inch again, and then you sew it all around the facing. That's how to finish the raw edge. So after doing that, the next thing will be to sew it up to the dress. So first let us open the zipper. So you're going to bring out all the seam allowance. You see? So now this is the right side of the dress. So make sure the right side of the facing is facing the right side of the dress. So first you match it up at the shoulder. So you press open your seam. To the edge of the zipper. Can you see? So make sure the zipper slips well, then match it up. The zipper has to be in between. You're going to trim it off after sewing it up. So can you see everything is matching right now? And you just pin it all through. Facing has been attached to the neckline, as you can see that. Note, I had to bring out the zipper seam allowance. This is the right side, this is the wrong side, so the seam allowance is out, because remember we had a seam allowance to the facing, so also to the other side. So what do we do now? Pay attention here. So coming to one of the sides, can you see it is on the zipper allowance. Good. So what I'm going to do now is this. Remember we left 1 inch for the zipper allowance, so that 1 inch, can you see that? So you're going to sew it along with the zipper, because by the time we bring it out we want to have a neat finishing. Good. Can you see that? So just the way you sewed very close to the zipper teeth, that's the same thing you're going to do here now. So just sew on the zipper allowance here. When you get to the top here, we are going to sew in just 1/4 inch on the neckline, or 1/2 inch. Then you just come in. Can you see that? So you start from here on the sewing machine, sew it straight to the edge, 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch away. Then you keep sewing this way, coming down this way. So that's how I'm going to keep sewing on my sewing machine. So you keep going till you get to the other side here. Can you see? So remember this was also brought out, so you sew it down here, also very close to the zipper teeth. With your nails and fingers you can feed it, then you sew it down again and stop here. So I'll take to the sewing machine to sew it all around, starting from the end of the facing. Looking at it, I've started sewing from the edge here, very close to the zipper teeth, the facing together with the zipper allowance. Then I'm just going to keep sewing. So when I get to 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch away from the neckline, I'm just going to lift the foot, leave the needle in it, then turn it all around. Then I'm going to start sewing the neckline. Then put down the foot. So take your time to keep adjusting. Start sewing. Yeah, the place of the zipper teeth is a bit hard, but just take your time, it will pass through. And I'm going to keep sewing. Can you see that? So when I got here, so 1/2 inch away or 1/4 inch away. Looking at it now, I've sewn everything all around. So starting from this point, can you see it? All around. So when I got here again, I finished it up. So the first thing we are going to do is to cut off the excess zipper. Then at this edge, you just cut diagonally like this. And the notch, just fold. Can you see the way I'm notching that? Now after notching it all around, we can now bring it all out. So the first thing here, push in your, can you see what we have? So nice. Can you see, is that not beautiful? Can you see what we have? So this is what it looks like on the right side, and on the wrong side this is what it looks like. So beautiful. Then I'm just going to push this in. You see that? So wonderful. So the next thing we are going to do is to use our pressing iron to just give it a good press. Can you see? So lovely. Now at this stage, if you are adding a sleeve to it, you can just add up your sleeve. You already know how to do that. So wonderful. So I'm just going to use my pressing iron to just give it a good press to be able to stay in place. So beautiful. The next thing we are going to do now is to sew the side seam allowance. Can you see that? So nice. So what I will do next, take to the sewing machine. For the side seam allowance, I left 3/4 inch on the side, but I advised you guys to leave 1 inch seam allowance. So what I'm going to do now is to sew 3/4 inch all down. You can use your tailor's chalk to just mark it to make it easier for you, but for me, I already know what 3/4, half an inch, 1 inch is. So I'm just going to sew it all down before I now teach you how to perfectly finish your vent and the hem. Right now I've sewn the side of the dress and it's all ready. Another tip you need to do at the neckline region is this: just put them facing and the dress together on the right side and just sew like 3 stitches just to tack it down to each other. Make sure you're using a matching thread. Do the same thing for the other side. So now I'm going to turn it to the right and just give it a good press, then we can finish the hem of the dress. What her beautiful dress looks like, and you can see it's just so wonderful. So on the back panel, can you see that's so wonderful? So this is the vent. So now let's quickly talk about how to finish up the vent. Use my pressing iron to fold in the seam allowance. So this is what it looks like. Can you see? So with a crease, you know where the seam allowance is. So there are 2 ways you can finish it. Use a zigzag stitch all around on the raw edges, or just fold in half an inch, then you'll be left with 1 inch to just sew it all around. Now when you are folding in on a normal day, you would have just folded your vent first, then fold it this way. Can you see that? But that is wrong. You don't fold it that way. You don't fold your vent first before folding the seam allowance. That is wrong, because you will have this seam allowance peeking out. So how do you fold it? Bring it all out, open up the vent. Can you see that? Fold the seam allowance in before you now fold in the vent. Can you see that? So you have a very neat finishing here. So that is how to fold in your seam allowance. Then how do you sew this now? All you have to do now is to just, because I don't want any seam to show on this part, after folding it the right way, opening up your seam, your vent first, folding in your seam allowance before having it this way, all you have to do is, now that our seam allowance is folded in, open it up this way. Can you see? Then you sew the seam allowance all around back to this point. Can you see that? Just open the vent this way, then sew your seam allowance all around. After doing that, you will be left with this place hanging open. Then just fold it back and then use your needle and thread to fold it in. That is it. So what I'm going to do now is to sew up the hemline. Note, you are going to open up your vent this way and then start sewing all around till the other part. Hem the skirt. So back to the vent. So after sewing it up, this is what I have. So this part is still open. So all you have to do is to fold it back and just use your needle and thread to tack it down. That is how I like to finish my vent. So that is what our dress. This is the outcome of the basic dress we've just made. You can see it is just so easy and very simple to make. So I'm going to turn the back for you to see how it looks. Back of the dress, and you can see how beautiful and lovely it is. Look at the zipper, there's no puffiness, and looking at the vent, everything just aligned and looks so beautiful. So just make sure you give it a try and send in your assignment into the class. I remain your girl Bilikis. Bye for now.